There are new reports that Karim Khan, who is the ICC prosecutor who introduced an arrest warrant for Netanyahu, and his former defense minister, Yoav Gallant, have been threatened. A British-Israeli defense lawyer at the ICC, linked to a Netanyahu advisor, told Karim Khan to drop his arrest warrant or be destroyed. Karim Khan was placed under surveillance by the Mossad. This sex scandal cropped up after he introduced his arrest warrant. He was forced to kind of step down for a time. His entire staff has had their visas pulled by the United States. I mean, the US and the Israeli intelligence are not even hiding it anymore. They're just seeking to openly destroy the international legal system in order to preserve their genocide. And this happened even before Karim Khan with his predecessor, Fatou Bensouda. This is a Guardian report in 2024. Israeli spy chief Yossi Cohen, who was the predecessor to the Mossad chief David Barnea, threatened ICC prosecutor over war crimes inquiry. Personally involved in secret plot to pressure Fatou Bensouda to drop Palestine investigation. She launched the investigation starting in 2014 after Israel destroyed large parts of Gaza, and Karim Khan had put it on pause, and then he finally delivered this arrest warrant, and now they're freaking out. So in a way, Israel's losing on the global stage, and it's provoking not a harsh international backlash. Actually, the international backlash has been kind of pathetic if you look at it from a material point of view. But there is a new group called the Hague Group, which I guess formed in February under the watch of something called the Progressive International, which includes, I think, around 30 countries. They gathered in Bogota last week and issued kind of a resolution. Sarah Leah Whitson, who heads a group called Dawn in Washington, sums it up as follows: full embargo on weapons to Israel, blocking ships carrying weapons to Israel from docking at ports, ending contracts that support Israeli occupation, supporting prosecutions of Israeli criminals at national and international levels. I mean, these all sound like very welcome resolutions from these countries, but just quickly, there are some issues. Well, there's some really positive things I can see about the Hague Group. First, that it has brought Latin American countries into the fold, like Nicaragua and Cuba and Venezuela, which have even been targeted by supposedly progressive Latin American neighbors like Brazil. And Lula da Silva, who has been no friend of Venezuela, kept them out of BRICS. Nicaragua has been castigated by the Puebla group of sort of center-left Latin American countries, and Cuba. These are all very sanctioned countries who've always stood on principle for Palestine, but they basically have no relations with Israel. So I'm not sure what else they can do. Gustavo Petro, who convened this conference, who's the Colombian president, seems really principled about this and has suspended coal exports to Israel. But then there are other countries that are involved in the Hague Group, like Turkey and China, who have a much less clear stance on Israel-Palestine. What are your thoughts on the Hague Group, Aaron?
I saw Gustavo Petro's comments, and I thought they were very moving and inspiring, and Francesca Albanese's as well. And I haven't looked into it like you have, but it's good. I mean, just some sort of international gesture of solidarity with Palestine to me is always welcome, even though I know there's a lot of complications. China especially could do a lot more than it's doing for Palestine. I don't know very much about China, but they just don't ever strike me as being willing to get into a fight with the US in areas outside of their own domain. Like in Syria, they could have stepped in and helped stem some of the bleeding there by evading the sanctions, helping Syria rebuild, but they never did that. And it looks to me like in Gaza, they're playing a similar role. Same with Russia too. Like Russia seems to want to play it both ways with Israel. They'll be critical sometimes, but yet they let Israel bomb Syria during the years of the Dirty War, and maintain a relatively, although it's complicated, but they seem to have a friendly thing going with Netanyahu because there's so many Russians in Israel. Many of them not even Jewish, but they claim to be Jewish just so they can move there. But look, overall, seeing some sort of international solidarity with Gaza, of course, it's way too late. I wish more had been done from the start, but I'm happy to see something that defies the current, U.S.-led system.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm seeking clarification. If anyone associated with Progressive International or the Hague Group is watching this, I want to better understand what the two most important members of the Hague Group are how they're going to change their policy toward Israel. Turkey is one of the top exporters to Israel in 2024. There's actually a protest group that's formed in Istanbul to protest Turkish gas and oil exports to Israel, which have really kept Israel going throughout this genocide, including its military. So I'm seeking clarification or clarity on whether Turkey will change that policy, and I highly doubt they will. And I asked this question of certain power brokers when I was in Istanbul last year, and they told me that they believe the U.S. could bring Turkey's economy to the ground if they actually stopped the exports to Israel. So they're afraid. And then China has its own reasons for sort of taking a neutral position to Israel and engaging with Israel, which is that it's currently superseding the U.S. as the top economic power in the world. And China is one major reason why Iran is still able to exist as a country. I mean, all the construction equipment I saw in Iran was Chinese. They were only able to put up a new building thanks to China. They were signing new economic agreements and infrastructure agreements with China. Same thing in Nicaragua. Nicaragua is an independent country that isn't neoliberal, controlled by the IMF, has no future without China. And I would see the Chinese presence in Nicaragua to the point where like the guys in like a small town at a table, like having dinner at a table near me, were small Chinese businessmen. So yeah, why do they want to take on the world hegemon of US and Zionist power? But it is a little bit on the nose that before there's this conference, they're promoting better ties with Israel. I mean, this is the Chinese ambassador to Israel, Zhao Junzheng, promoting the 2025 Ambassadors Cup Wushu competition in Rehovot, Israel, and thanking the local municipality there. May this art become a lasting bridge of friendship between China and Israel. And he's also, giving interviews to JNS, Jewish News Services, which is like basically an Israeli intelligence cutout in the U.S. And he's hitting back at claims that that China will do anything to provide J-10 multi-purpose fighter jets to Iran or any other important military hardware that Iran would need to deter Israeli attacks. And at one point in this article, he says, many of the Chinese people believe that after the war or conflict, Israel will enter into a new period of peace, stability, and development, which will bring us a huge opportunity for our high-level cooperation in different domains, in different fields. So I would like to see some more clarity on what the Hague Group actually means materially in practice for the trade practices and diplomacy of these countries that have been historically non-aligned. And that's not to malign these countries. Let's just be honest.
And why aren't other countries joining them? Why is it on South Africa to lead basically the global coalition against Israel? I mean, they're the ones who took Israel to the ICJ, who lodged the genocide allegation. Why is it on South Africa to bear this burden? obviously they can't do it alone. And look, no one's above criticism. And that includes those of us in the U.S. I mean, we're the ones financing all of this. So as much as it'd be great if other nations stepped up and took on Israel, I mean, there has to be something domestically too, or else no matter what anyone else does around the world against Israel, it won't matter if the U.S. policy doesn't change. And that's where anybody who pays taxes can play a role and be a part of a movement inside the U.S. domestically.
Yeah. Well, again, would like to know more, but it's an encouraging development to see an international bloc organizing outside the UN when the UN it's basically blocked at this point. But what can they do?